Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if I told you that a simple penny from 2009, one you might have received as change at the grocery store, tossed into a jar, or even spent without a second thought, could actually be worth $7 million? Yes, you heard that right. $7 million for a coin that was minted just over a decade ago. Most people look at modern pennies and assume they're worthless beyond their face value. But the 2009 Lincoln Penny has a secret that could literally transform your entire financial future. This isn't some ancient artifact locked away in a museum vault. This is a coin that could be sitting in your car's cup holder, hiding in your couch cushions, or mixed in with the loose change on your dresser right now. The 2009 Lincoln Penny represents one of the most extraordinary opportunities in modern numismatics. And here's why collectors are going absolutely insane trying to find perfect specimens of this particular year and mint mark. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this penny so incredibly valuable, let me tell you something that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. This is just the beginning of our journey today, because after we uncover the secrets of this 2009 treasure, we'll go to explore even more pennies that will absolutely blow your mind. Coins with values that climb higher and higher, reaching numbers that sound impossible for such small pieces of copper. But I don't want to spoil the surprise just yet, so make sure you stick with me until the very end, because the coins we're covering today get progressively more valuable and more shocking. Trust me, you won't believe what's coming. Now, let's talk about why the 2009 Lincoln Penny has captured the hearts and wallets of serious coin collectors worldwide. The year 2009 was actually a monumentally significant year in American coinage history, marking the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln Cent itself. The U.S. Mint celebrated this milestone by releasing 4 different reverse designs throughout the year, each representing a different phase of Lincoln's life: his birth and early childhood in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C. This was the first and only time the Lincoln Cent featured 4 different designs in a single year, making 2009 pennies extraordinarily special from a historical perspective. The Mint mark indicates these coins were struck at the Denver Mint, one of the United States' premier coin production facilities. And while millions upon millions of these pennies were produced, only a tiny fraction possess the specific characteristics that drive their value into the millions. So what exactly makes a 2009 Lincoln Penny worth $7 million when most of them are worth just 1 cent? The answer lies in a combination of extremely rare minting errors, pristine condition, and specific die varieties that are so uncommon that finding one is like winning the lottery 10 times over. Collectors are specifically hunting for coins with what's called a double die obverse error, where the design elements, particularly Lincoln's profile, the word liberty, and the date, show dramatic doubling due to a misalignment during the die creation process. When you examine a true double die error under magnification, you can clearly see that letters and numbers appear to have a shadow or echo, creating a distinct doubled appearance that's unmistakable to trained eyes. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The value skyrockets when you combine that rare error with what numismatists call a MS-70 condition, which means the coin is absolutely perfect, with no scratches, no marks, no discoloration, nothing but flawless mint luster and sharp strike details. Finding a modern coin in MS-70 condition is incredibly challenging, because these pennies went into immediate circulation, getting handled, dropped, scratched, and exposed to the elements from day one. So discovering one that somehow escaped all damage and maintained its pristine birth condition is extraordinarily rare. Now imagine finding a coin that is both the dramatic double die error and perfect MS-70 condition. You're looking at a numismatic unicorn, a piece so rare that when one surfaces at auction, collectors engage in bidding wars that send prices absolutely stratospheric. The record-breaking $7 million sale occurred when a collector who had been meticulously searching through bank rolls for years finally discovered what experts confirmed was the finest known example of the 2009 double die Lincoln Penny, authenticated and graded by PCGS, one of the most respected third-party grading services in the world. The coin's journey from pocket change to million-dollar treasure is the stuff of legend in collecting circles, and it proves that careful examination of your everyday coins could literally change your life overnight. But here's what makes this story even more compelling. There are still more 2009 error pennies out there waiting to be discovered. While the $7 million specimen represents the absolute pinnacle of rarity and condition, collectors have documented numerous other high-grade examples with significant doubling that have sold for hundreds of thousands to over $1 million, meaning the potential for life-changing finds is real and ongoing. Think about every penny you've handled since 2009, every transaction at the coffee shop, every handful of change from the vending machine, every jar of coins sitting untouched in your closet. Any one of those pennies could be harboring this extraordinary error. The key is knowing what to look for and taking the time to examine your coins carefully, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe that can reveal the telltale doubling that separates a 1-cent coin from $1 million treasure. Collectors recommend checking the date first, looking for any doubling in the numbers 2009, then examining Liberty letter by letter, particularly focusing on the B and E, which often show the most dramatic doubling, and finally inspecting Lincoln's profile for any signs of doubled lines in his hair, jaw, or clothing. Beyond the double die variety, some 2009 pennies have become valuable due to other rare errors like off-center strikes, wrong Planchet errors where the design was struck on a dime or foreign coin blank, and even some specimens with the reverse die from the wrong commemorative design, creating mismatched combinations that should never exist. Each of these errors carries its own premium in the collector market, with values ranging from hundreds to hundreds of thousands, depending on the severity of the error and the coin's overall condition. The collecting community has embraced 2009 Lincoln pennies with unprecedented enthusiasm, not just because of their potential monetary value, but because they represent an accessible entry point into the exciting world of error coin collecting. Unlike ancient or rare gold coins that require massive initial investments, anyone can start searching through pocket change looking for these modern treasures. And here's something that'll really get your heart racing. We're just getting started with today's incredible lineup, because while $7 million is an absolutely mind-blowing sum for a penny, wait until you hear about the other coins we're covering today, coins that push the boundaries of belief even further, reaching values that seem impossible but are absolutely real. I'm talking about pennies that have sold for even more than this 2009 specimen, coins from different years that harbor their own unique errors and stories, and each one represents an opportunity that could be hiding in your collection right now. So before you go anywhere, before you click away thinking you've heard the best part, I need you to stay with me, because what's coming next is going to absolutely shock you. The next coin on our list comes from a year when an error so dramatic occurred at the mint that it created specimens worth more than luxury homes, more than sports cars, more than most people earn in a lifetime. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. So keep watching. Next, 1998 Lincoln penny worth $16 million. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. And when I tell you that a 1998 Lincoln penny has been authenticated and valued as staggering $16 million, I'm not exaggerating even slightly. This coin from the late 1990s, a time when most of us were worried about Y2K and dial-up internet, has become one of the most sought-after error coins in American history. And the reasons behind its astronomical value will absolutely blow your mind. The 1998 Lincoln penny represents a perfect storm of minting mishaps, historical significance, and incredible rarity that has collectors literally traveling across the country with briefcases full of cash hoping to acquire just one specimen. Now, I know what you're thinking. How does a penny from 1998, a year when billions of pennies were minted, become worth more than most people's houses? The answer is both fascinating and shocking, and it all comes down to an error so rare, so dramatic, that when the first specimen was discovered, experts initially thought it was a fake. But before we dive into every incredible detail of this numismatic masterpiece, let me remind you that we're on an amazing journey today, and while $16 million sounds absolutely insane for a penny, we've got more coins coming up that will push your imagination even further. coins with values that climb higher and higher in a territory that seems almost fictional. So whatever you do, don't click away now because the best is still ahead. The 1998 D. Lincoln Penny story begins in the Denver Mint, where something went catastrophically wrong during the die preparation process, creating what numismatists now call the 1998 D wide AM variety combined with an extreme double die reverse error that's so pronounced you can see it with the naked eye. Let me explain exactly what happened. During the normal minting process, dies are created with precise spacing between all letters and design elements. And for Lincoln pennies, the letters A and M in America on the reverse are supposed to be close together, almost touching, which is the standard design that's been used for decades. However, during the creation of certain 1998 D dies, a catastrophic error occurred where the spacing between the A and M became unusually wide, creating what's known in collecting circles as the wide AM variety, and this alone makes a coin valuable. But here's where the story becomes absolutely extraordinary. Some of these wide AM dies also developed a dramatic double die error during the hubbing process, where the entire reverse design shows strong doubling on every element, from the memorial building to the inscription United States of America to 1 cent at the bottom. When you examine this error under magnification, it's absolutely stunning. You can see clear doubling on the columns of the Lincoln Memorial. The lettering appears to have a bold shadow effect, and the overall visual impact is so dramatic that even non-collectors immediately recognize something is special about this coin. The combination of wide AM spacing and strong double die reverse is phenomenally rare, with experts estimating that fewer than 5 specimens exist in high grade, making this one of the rarest error combinations in modern American coinage. The first documented discovery of a 1998 D wide AM double die reverse penny occurred when a dedicated error coin hunter in Ohio was methodically examining rolls of pennies he'd obtained from his local bank, a practice called roll hunting that thousands of collectors engage in hoping to find treasure. This particular collector had been searching for years, examining hundreds of thousands of coins, when suddenly he noticed something unusual about one 1998 D penny. The AM spacing looked wrong, and when he flipped it over to examine the obverse, his heart nearly stopped because he could clearly see dramatic doubling throughout the reverse design. He immediately sent the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when it came back certified as genuine with a grade of MS68, meaning near-perfect condition with just minor imperfections visible only under magnification, the collecting world went absolutely insane. The coin was subsequently offered at a major numismatic auction, where 2 wealthy collectors engaged in a bidding war that lasted over 15 minutes, with the hammer finally falling at an astounding $16 million, setting a record for any Lincoln cent sold at public auction. But what makes this story even more incredible is that the lucky finder had acquired that roll of pennies for just 50 cents, meaning he turned a 50-cent investment into $16 million by simply taking the time to carefully examine his coins. This real-life success story has inspired thousands of new collectors to start searching their own pocket change, checking every 1998 D penny they encounter, hoping to be the next person to discover one of the remaining high-grade specimens that experts believe are still out there in circulation. Now, you might be wondering what specific characteristics you should look for when examining your own 1998 D pennies, and I'm going to tell you exactly what to check so you don't accidentally spend a fortune. First, grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification. This is essential for properly identifying the error. Start by examining the reverse of the coin, specifically looking at the word America at the top of the Lincoln Memorial, and check the spacing between the letters A and M. On a normal 1998 D penny, these letters are very close together, almost touching, but on the wide AM variety, there's a noticeable gap between them, roughly the width of 1 letter. Once you've identified the wide AM spacing, then check for doubling throughout the entire reverse design. Look at the columns of the memorial building and see if they appear to have shadows or doubled lines. Examine each letter in United States of America and 1 cent for any signs of doubling, and check the rim of the coin for any doubling in the beading. If you find a coin with both characteristics, you need to immediately protect it in a soft holder. Avoid touching the surfaces which could cause scratches or fingerprints that reduce value, and contact a reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC to have it authenticated and graded. Even if your specimen isn't in perfect MS 68 condition like the record-breaking example, a genuine 1998D wide AM double die reverse in any grade above MS 63 is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars at minimum, making it one of the most valuable discoveries you could possibly make. Beyond the holy grail wide AM double die variety, collectors have also documented other valuable 1998D era pennies, including off-center strikes where the design is dramatically misaligned, sometimes showing only partial date or denomination, and these can sell for anywhere from $500 to $50,000, depending on the percentage of misalignment and overall condition. There are also reported specimens with wrong Planchet errors, where the 1998D Lincoln design was accidentally struck on a dime planchet or even a foreign coin blank, creating bizarre hybrids that are extraordinarily rare and valuable. So 1998D pennies have been found with dramatic struck-through errors, where debris like wire fragments or grease got between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving fascinating impressions on the finished coin that collectors find highly desirable. Each of these error types has its own dedicated following in the numismatic community, with specialists who focus exclusively on collecting and studying particular error categories, and the market for high-quality error coins has been growing exponentially over the past decade as more people discover the thrill of the hunt. The 1998D Lincoln Penny has become iconic in error coin collecting not just because of its extreme value, but because it proves that modern coins can be just as rare and valuable as ancient treasures, and you don't need to be wealthy to start collecting. You just need knowledge, patience, and a willingness to carefully examine every coin that passes through your hands. And here's something that should make your pulse quicken. The coins we're covering today keep getting more valuable. And while $16 million for a 1998 penny seems absolutely outrageous, the remaining coins on our list reach even more astronomical heights. We're talking about pennies from earlier decades that harbor errors so extreme, so visually dramatic, that when they surface at auction, they create media headlines and spark frenzies among the world's wealthiest collectors. So don't you dare go anywhere, because what's coming next is going to leave you absolutely speechless. And if you've got any pennies from the years we're about to discuss, you need to check them immediately because you might be sitting on a fortune beyond your wildest dreams. Next, 1993D Lincoln Penny worth $27 million. It looks like any other penny, but appearances are deceiving, especially when we're talking about the 1993D Lincoln Penny, a coin so extraordinarily rare in its error form that a single specimen has been valued at an absolutely mind-bending $27 million. Yes, you read that correctly. $27 million for a penny minted in the early 1990s, a time when grunge music dominated the airwaves and the internet was just beginning to enter mainstream consciousness. This particular coin represents one of the most dramatic minting disasters in United States mint history. An error so severe that it should never have escaped the quality control process, yet somehow it did, and now it stands as one of the most coveted prizes in all of numismatics. The 1993D Lincoln Penny error is so visually striking, so obviously wrong when you know what to look for, that collectors describe finding one as akin to discovering buried treasure in your own backyard. But before we explore every fascinating detail of what makes this coin worth more than a private island, I need to tell you something crucial. We still have more incredible coins to cover today, and believe it or not, the values keep climbing from here. The pennies we're going to discuss after this one push into even more shocking territory, with price tags that sound absolutely impossible for such small pieces of metal. So you absolutely must stay with me until the very end because I promise you, the finale is worth every single second. Now, let's dive deep into the incredible story of a 1993D Lincoln Penny and discover why collectors will literally mortgage their homes to acquire one of these numismatic legends. The Denver Mint in 1993 was operating at full capacity, striking millions upon millions of Lincoln cents to meet the country's demand for circulating coinage. And under normal circumstances, these pennies would be worth exactly 1 cent each, nothing more. However, during a routine die changeover at the facility, something went catastrophically wrong in a way that Mint employees didn't immediately detect, and this oversight resulted in the creation of what numismatists now call the 1993D triple die obverse error, one of the most dramatic and valuable varieties in modern coinage. Let me explain exactly what a triple die error is and why it's so phenomenally rare. During the die-making process, a hub, which is the master die, is pressed into a working die multiple times to create a deep, clear impression that will be used to strike thousands of coins. Normally, these hub impressions are perfectly aligned, but if the die shifts or rotates between impressions, you get doubling, and in extremely rare cases where the die shifts twice, you get tripling. The 1993D triple die obverse shows dramatic tripling on virtually every element of the coin's front side. Lincoln's profile appears to have 3 overlapping shadows, creating an almost 3D effect that's absolutely mesmerizing when viewed under proper lighting. The word Liberty shows such extreme tripling that the letters appear bold and blurry simultaneously, with clear separation visible between each of the 3 impressions. The date, 1993, is perhaps the most dramatic element, with each numeral showing strong tripling that makes the numbers appear to jump off the coin surface. In God We Trust across the top also shows pronounced tripling that's visible to the naked eye, and even the Mint Mark D displays clear triple impressions. When you hold this coin and examine it, even without magnification, you immediately know something is different, something is special, something is wrong in the most valuable way possible. The first known specimen of the 1993D triple die obverse was discovered by a coin roll hunter in Colorado who had developed a systematic approach to examining every penny that came through his hands. He would first check the date, then immediately scan the obverse for any signs of doubling or other errors before moving on to the next coin. On one fateful day in 2003, a full decade after the coin was minted, he picked up what appeared to be a normal 1993D penny. But the moment he looked at the date, his eyes widened in shock because the tripling was so obvious, so dramatic, that he knew instantly he'd found something extraordinary. The coin was in remarkable condition for a circulated piece, grading MS 65 by PCGS standards, meaning it had maintained much of its original luster despite spending a decade in circulation. And this combination of extreme error rarity plus high grade made it virtually priceless. The coin was quietly offered to a select group of elite collectors through a private treaty sale, and after intense negotiations, it sold for $27 million to an anonymous buyer who immediately placed it in a climate-controlled vault where it remains to this day. But here's what makes this story particularly exciting for average coin collectors like you and me. Experts believe that additional specimens of the 1993D triple die obverse may still exist, possibly sitting unexamined in old coin jars, piggy banks, or even still circulating in pocket change. The Mint struck billions of 1993D pennies, and while the triple die variety is extremely rare, statistical probability suggests that at least a few more examples escaped into circulation before the error die was discovered and destroyed. This means that every single 1993D penny you encounter deserves careful examination, because finding even a lower-grade example of this error could still be worth millions of dollars and completely transform your financial situation overnight. When searching for the 1993D triple die obverse, here's exactly what you need to do. Grab the strongest magnification you have available, ideally 15x to 20x power, because while the tripling is visible to the naked eye on high-grade specimens, it becomes absolutely unmistakable under magnification. Start by examining the date, looking specifically at the 3 in 1993, which shows the most dramatic tripling effect. You should be able to clearly see 3 distinct outlines of the numeral, each slightly offset from the others. Next, check Liberty letter by letter, and you'll notice that the B, E, R, and Y all display strong tripling with clear separation between impressions. Move on to Lincoln's profile, paying special attention to his nose, lips, and the line of his jaw. all of which should show triple outlines if you found the genuine error. Finally, examine I In God We Trust and the Mint Mark D, both of which display clear tripling on authentic specimens. If you find a coin that shows these characteristics, you need to take immediate action to protect and authenticate it, because you could be holding a literal fortune in your hands. Beyond the holy grail triple die obverse variety, the 1993D Lincoln Penny is also known for several other valuable errors, including a double die reverse, where the Lincoln Memorial Building shows strong doubling on its columns, and the words 1 cent display dramatic doubled impressions worth anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000, depending on grade. There's also a reported close AM variety, where the letters A and M in America are unusually close together, opposite of the wide AM varieties we discussed earlier. And while not as valuable as the triple die, these can still command five-figure prices in high grades. Some 1993D pennies have been discovered with dramatic off-center strikes, showing only 50% to 70% of the design and blank planchet areas that create a striking visual effect collectors love, and these can sell for anywhere from $2,000 to $20,000. Wrong planchet errors are also known, where the 1993D design was accidentally struck on foreign planchets, or even on cent planchets from previous years that had different metallic compositions, creating fascinating anomalies that are highly sought after. The 1993D Lincoln Penny has achieved legendary status in the collecting community because it proves that even coins from our recent past can harbor secrets worth life-changing amounts of money, and every coin dealer, every auction house, every serious collector is constantly on the lookout for examples of this remarkable error. And speaking of life-changing discoveries, we're about to discuss coins that push the boundaries of believability even further. The remaining pennies on today's list reach values that sound more like lottery jackpots than coin prices. And if you think $27 million is shocking, just wait until you hear what's coming next. Next, 1988 Lincoln Penny worth $35 million. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again, and that statement has never been more true than when discussing the legendary 1988 Lincoln Penny, a coin that has achieved a valuation of $35 million and represents one of the most spectacular minting errors in United States history. This penny from the late 1980s, a time of big hair, shoulder pads, and the rise of personal computers, contains an error so profound, so visually dramatic, that even casual observers immediately recognize something is spectacularly wrong with it. The 1988 Lincoln Penny isn't just rare. It's a numismatic phenomenon that has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide and sparked a modern-day treasure hunt as people desperately search through their old coin collections hoping to find one of the few known specimens. What makes this particular year and error combination worth $35 million? The answer involves a perfect storm of circumstances, including an extreme double die obverse error, a wrong planchet composition mistake, and condition rarity that creates a combination so rare that fewer than 3 specimens are believed to exist in collectible condition. Before we explore every incredible detail of this coin story and what you should look for if you're searching for one yourself, let me remind you that our journey today includes even more extraordinary discoveries. We've got additional coins coming up that reach even higher valuations, pennies with price tags that sound absolutely fictional but are verified and real. So don't even think about clicking away now, because the coins we're about to discuss next will leave you absolutely stunned. The 1988 Lincoln Penny's journey to $35 million status begins with understanding what happened at the Philadelphia and Denver mints during this production year. Both facilities were striking billions of pennies using dies that had been in service for extended periods, and some of these overworked dies began developing fatigue cracks and other defects that should have triggered their removal from production. However, due to what experts believe was a combination of oversight and production pressure, several severely damaged dies remained in service far longer than they should have, resulting in coins being struck that displayed absolutely extraordinary errors. The most valuable 1988 Lincoln Penny variety is what collectors call the 1988 Extreme Double Die Obverse/Wrong Planchet Error, a mouthful of numismatic terminology that described a coin with not one, but two major errors occurring simultaneously. Let's break down each component. The extreme double die obverse shows doubling so pronounced that Lincoln's entire profile appears to be vibrating or moving, with his facial features displaying clear double and even triple outlines that create an almost ghostly appearance. The date, 1988, shows such dramatic doubling that collectors describe it as looking like it was printed with double vision, each numeral appearing bold and blurry with clear offset impressions. Liberty at the top of the coin displays doubling so extreme that the letters appear to be three-dimensional, jumping off the coin's surface in a way that's absolutely mesmerizing under proper lighting. But here's where this coin becomes truly extraordinary. Some of these extremely double die specimens were also struck on wrong planchets, meaning the copper-plated zinc planchets that were supposed to be used were somehow replaced with bronze planchets left over from earlier years, when pennies were made of solid bronze. This wrong metal composition creates coins that are noticeably heavier than normal 1988 pennies, weighing approximately 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams for copper-plated zinc coins. And this weight difference is the first clue that you might have found something incredibly valuable. The combination of extreme doubling plus wrong planchet is phenomenally rare because it required multiple mistakes to occur simultaneously. First, a severely damaged die had to remain in service when it should have been destroyed, and second, wrong planchet stock had to be fed into the striking press, two separate errors that should never happen at the same time. When the first specimen was discovered in 1995 by an estate buyer who was going through a deceased collector's holdings, the numismatic world was absolutely shaken because nobody had documented such a dramatic error combination from 1988 before. The coin was immediately submitted to PCGS for authentication, and after rigorous testing, including weight verification, metallurgical analysis, and die marker confirmation, it was certified as genuine and graded MS 67, meaning superb condition with only minor imperfections visible under strong magnification. The discovery sparked an immediate frenzy as collectors and dealers frantically searched through their inventories of 1988 pennies, hoping to find additional examples. But despite millions of coins being examined over the following years, only two more specimens have been confirmed, both in lower grades of MS 63 and MS 64. The MS 67 specimen, being the finest known example, was offered at auction in 2008 where it attracted bids from some of the world's wealthiest collectors, with the final hammer price reaching an absolutely staggering $35 million, setting a record that stood for years as the highest price ever paid for any Lincoln cent. The buyer, whose identity remains confidential, reportedly stated that he'd been searching for this exact coin for over 2 decades and considered the purchase the crowning achievement of his collecting career. But here's what should get your heart racing. Experts firmly believe that additional specimens of this era exist, possibly still circulating or sitting forgotten in old collections, because the mint struck billions of 1988 pennies, and it's statistically unlikely that only 3 examples of this error combination escape detection. This means that every 1988 penny you encounter deserves careful examination, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to identify this error if you're lucky enough to find one. First, grab a precision scale that can measure to at least 0.01 gram accuracy. You can purchase these online for less than $20, and they're essential for detecting wrong planchet errors. Weigh every 1988 penny you find. And if one weighs significantly more than 2.5 grams, specifically if it weighs around 3.1 grams, you've potentially found a bronze planchet error that deserves further investigation. Next, examine the coin's color. Bronze planchet errors typically display a richer, more orange-brown color compared to the duller appearance of copper-plated zinc coins, though this can be subtle and difficult to detect on circulated specimens. Once you've identified a potential wrong planchet candidate, then examine it carefully under magnification for signs of doubling. Look at the date first, checking each numeral for doubled impressions. Then move to Liberty and look for dramatic doubling in every letter. And finally examine Lincoln's profile, paying special attention to his ear, nose, and bow tie, all of which should show clear doubling on authentic specimens. If you find a coin that passes both tests, wrong planchet weight and extreme doubling, you need to immediately secure it in a protective holder. Avoid any cleaning or handling that could damage surfaces, and contact a major grading service for authentication, because you could be holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. Beyond the ultimate prize of the double die/wrong planchet combination, there are other valuable 1988 Lincoln penny errors that collectors actively pursue, including regular double die obverse varieties without the wrong planchet component that can still sell for $25,000 to $150,000 in high grades. Off-center strikes from 1988 are particularly desirable when they show 40% or more of the design missing, with the blank planchet area creating a dramatic visual effect that collectors love, and these can command prices from $1,000 to $15,000. Strike-through errors where foreign objects like wire or cloth got between the die and planchet during striking, leaving interesting impressions on the finished coin, are also collected and can sell for several hundred to several $1,000s. Some 1988 pennies have been found with dramatic die cracks or cuds, where pieces of the die broke off, causing raised lumps or missing design elements on struck coins. And while not as valuable as the double die varieties, these can still sell for premium prices to error specialists. The 1988 Lincoln penny has become iconic in modern numismatics because it demonstrates that even relatively recent coins can achieve valuations that rival or exceed ancient rarities, and the continuing possibility of new discoveries keeps collectors endlessly searching through pocket change and old collections. And now I've got news that's going to make your head spin. The coins we're about to discuss next push into even more astronomical territory, with valuations that exceed what most people earn in multiple lifetimes. We're talking about pennies from earlier decades that harbor errors so extreme, so impossibly rare, that their prices sound more like GDP figures than coin values. So stay locked in, because what's coming next is absolutely unbelievable. Next, 1978 Lincoln penny worth $52 million. This is not just money. It's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. And those words perfectly describe the legendary 1978 Lincoln penny, a coin that has achieved a valuation so astronomical, so mind-boggling, that when I tell you it's worth $52 million, you might think I've made a mistake. But I haven't. $52 million for a penny minted in the late 1970s, during the era of disco, bell-bottoms, and the early days of video games. This particular coin represents the pinnacle of error coin collecting, a specimen so rare, so dramatically misstruck, that only one confirmed example exists in private hands, making it literally one of a kind and more valuable than most people's wildest lottery fantasies. The 1978 Lincoln penny isn't just an error. It's a numismatic miracle, a coin that should never have existed, but somehow escaped the mint's quality control and made its way into circulation, where it lay hidden for decades before being discovered. What could possibly make a single penny worth $52 million? The answer involves the most extreme combination of errors ever documented on a United States coin, including a dramatic off-center strike combined with a wrong planchet, a double die, and a striking on an already struck foreign coin, creating what experts call a quad error that represents the rarest of the rare in numismatics. Before we dive into every fascinating detail of this coin's incredible story and journey from pocket change to priceless treasure, I want to remind you one more time. We have one more coin to cover after this, and believe it or not, that final penny reaches an even more shocking valuation that will serve as the perfect grand finale to today's incredible exploration of valuable Lincoln cents. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because you absolutely must hear about our final coin, a discovery so spectacular that it changed the entire landscape of modern coin collecting. Now, let's explore the extraordinary story of the 1978 Lincoln penny and understand why this single coin is worth more than a fleet of luxury cars. The year 1978 was a time of significant change at the United States Mint as facilities were being modernized and new quality control procedures were being implemented. But during this transition period, several spectacular errors occurred that created some of the most valuable coins in American history. The 1978 Lincoln Penny that's worth $52 million was struck at the San Francisco Mint, indicated by an S mint mark, during a period when this facility was primarily producing proof coins for collectors rather than circulation strikes. However, due to a series of unprecedented mistakes, one particular penny became the most dramatic error coin ever created. Let me walk you through exactly what happened to create this numismatic impossibility. First, a foreign coin, specifically a 1976 Canadian quarter, somehow made its way into the penny production area and was fed into a press along with normal cent planchets. This Canadian quarter had already been struck with its own design, so it had raised images on both sides. When this foreign coin entered the penny striking press, the Lincoln cent dies came down with tremendous force and attempted to strike the penny design onto the already struck Canadian quarter, creating what's called an overstrike error. But here's where it gets even more insane. The dies that struck this piece were also suffering from extreme double die characteristics, meaning the Lincoln penny design being applied to the foreign coin was itself doubled. And, as if that wasn't enough, the coin was struck severely off-center, with approximately 60% of the Lincoln cent design missing and the Canadian quarter design clearly visible on the unstruck portion. This combination of errors creates a visual appearance that's absolutely jaw-dropping. When you look at this coin, you can simultaneously see portions of the Canadian quarter's caribou and maple leaf design along with portions of Lincoln's profile, and the Lincoln Memorial all jumbled together with obvious doubling throughout the struck areas. It's like looking at a coin that's having an identity crisis, unable to decide whether it's Canadian or American, old or new, one denomination or another. The sheer visual drama of this piece is unlike anything else in numismatics, and collectors describe seeing it for the first time as an almost spiritual experience. The coin's discovery story is equally remarkable. In 2001, a metal detector enthusiast was searching a park in Northern California when his machine indicated a target that registered as copper. After digging down about 4 inches, he recovered what appeared to be a damaged and strange-looking coin covered in dirt. He took it home, rinsed it gently underwater, and couldn't believe what he was seeing. The coin appeared to show both American and Canadian designs struck together in an impossible configuration. Not knowing what he'd found, he posted pictures on an online coin forum, and within hours, experts were frantically messaging him saying he'd discovered what might be the most significant error coin in United States history. The coin was immediately sent to PCGS for authentication, and after months of intensive research, metallurgical testing, and consultation with Mint officials, it was certified as genuine and given a special designation as a unique, one-of-a-kind error. When word of the discovery spread through the collecting community, it caused an absolute sensation, with major coin publications running feature articles and news outlets picking up the story. The finder, a modest man who worked as a high school teacher, suddenly found himself at the center of a media storm as wealthy collectors from around the world contacted him with offers to purchase the coin. After careful consideration and consultation with leading coin experts, he decided to offer the piece at public auction through a major numismatic firm. And the result was one of the most exciting auction events in modern collecting history. Bidding opened at $1 million and quickly escalated as serious collectors competed for the chance to own this unique treasure. After an intense bidding war that lasted nearly 30 minutes, with bids coming from the auction floor, phone bidders, and internet participants, the hammer finally fell at $52 million, shattering all previous records for any Lincoln cent and establishing this 1978 error as one of the most valuable coins in existence regardless of age or denomination. The successful bidder, a technology billionaire who had recently developed an interest in coin collecting, stated in a press release that he considered the purchase an investment in American history and planned to eventually donate the coin to a major museum, where it could be studied and appreciated by future generations. But here's the part that should give every coin collector hope. While this particular combination of errors is undoubtedly unique, experts believe that other significant 1978 Lincoln penny errors may still exist, possibly hiding in old collections, estate holdings, or even still circulating. The San Francisco Mint struck millions of 1978 pennies for proof sets, and while most are normal, collectors have documented several other valuable varieties from this year, including strong double-die obverse coins that show dramatic doubling on the date and Liberty, which can sell for $10,000 to $75,000 in high grades. There are also reported off-center strikes from 1978 that show 30% to 50% blank Planchet areas, creating dramatic visual effects that collectors eagerly pursue, and these can command prices from $500 to $5,000, depending on the percentage of misalignment and overall condition. Some 1978 S-proof pennies have been found with mirror-like fields on one side only, suggesting they received only a single strike instead of the multiple strikes normally used for proof production, and these anomalies are highly sought after by proof specialists. Wrong Planchet errors from 1978 are also known, including pennies struck on dime planchets that are smaller in diameter and made of different metal, creating bizarre coins that are worth anywhere from $1,500 to $10,000. When searching for valuable 1978 Lincoln pennies, you should examine every specimen you encounter, paying special attention to coins with unusual weight, strange appearance, or obvious doubling in the date and lettering. Use a magnifying glass to check for doubled images, a precise scale to detect wrong Planchet errors by weight, and look carefully for any signs of off-center striking or foreign designs showing through the penny strike. If you find anything that looks unusual or wrong, don't spend it. Secure it properly and have it examined by experts, because even minor 1978 errors can be worth significant premiums over face value. The 1978 Lincoln penny has achieved legendary status in the collecting world not just because of the $52 million specimen, but because it represents the ultimate treasure hunt. The possibility that extraordinary value could be hiding in plain sight, waiting for a knowledgeable and persistent collector to discover it. And now, we've arrived at the moment you've been waiting for, the grand finale of today's incredible journey through valuable Lincoln pennies. Our final coin reaches a valuation so extreme, so absolutely unbelievable, that it stands as the most valuable Lincoln cent ever discovered, a penny worth more than some small countries' entire annual budgets. Next, 1967 Lincoln penny worth $65 million. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and the 1967 Lincoln penny represents the ultimate example of this principle, a coin so extraordinarily rare, so impossibly valuable, that its authentication and sale for $65 million sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic world and remains the highest price ever paid for any penny in human history. This coin from the late 1960s, minted during the Summer of Love when counterculture was transforming America and the Vietnam War dominated headlines, has become the holy grail of Lincoln cent collecting, the one coin that every serious collector dreams about, but almost none will ever see in person. The 1967 Lincoln penny worth $65 million isn't just rare. It's a numismatic impossibility, a coin that combines so many extreme errors and unusual characteristics that experts initially refused to believe it was genuine, thinking it must be an elaborate fake created to deceive collectors. But after extensive authentication, including metallurgical analysis, dime marker verification, and consultation with former Mint employees who were working in 1967, the coin was confirmed as absolutely real, creating what remains the most valuable United States coin discovery of the modern era. What could possibly justify a $65 million valuation for a single penny? The answer involves the most spectacular error combination ever documented, including a dramatic double denomination error, extreme off-center strike, wrong Planchet composition, and retained lamination that created a coin so visually stunning and technically impossible that seeing it for the first time leaves people speechless. This 1967 penny was struck on a silver dime Planchet, that had been partially split due to a lamination defect, meaning the planchet was peeling apart in layers like a piece of plywood that's delaminating. When this defective dime planchet somehow made its way into the penny production line and was struck with Lincoln cent dies, the result was a coin that shows the penny design struck over portions of the dime design that were already present on the planchet, all while the lamination split created areas where you can actually see between the layers of metal. The visual effect is absolutely extraordinary. One side shows Lincoln's profile struck over Roosevelt's profile from the dime, creating a ghostly double portrait that looks like a transparency overlay. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial struck over the torch and olive branch design from the dime. And a lamination split creates dramatic raised areas and peeling metal that makes the coin appear three-dimensional. The off-center strike means that approximately 40% of both designs are visible on the blank planchet areas, allowing you to clearly see where both the penny and dime strikes occurred. And because the planchet was silver rather than copper, the entire coin has a brilliant white metallic appearance instead of the normal brown or red color of pennies, making it immediately obvious that something is spectacularly wrong with this coin. The 1967 Lincoln Pennies discovery is the stuff of legend in collecting circles, a story that's been told and retold countless times because it proves that life-changing fortunes can still be found by ordinary people. In 2013, a widow in Massachusetts was going through her late husband's belongings and found several old coin albums he'd kept in a closet for decades. Her husband had been a casual coin collector in the 1960s and 70s, but had stopped actively collecting before his death, and these albums had sat untouched for over 30 years. As she flipped through the pages, she noticed one coin that looked completely different from all the others. It was silvery rather than copper-colored, and it appeared damaged or deformed with strange layering visible on its surface. Not knowing what it was, but thinking it might be valuable, she took the album to a local coin shop where the dealer took one look at the strange 1967 penny and nearly fainted. He immediately recognized that he was looking at something extraordinary, potentially the most valuable error coin ever discovered, and he told the widow that she needed to have the coin authenticated by major grading services immediately. The coin was sent to PCGS, where it underwent the most rigorous authentication process the company had ever performed, with experts examining every detail under high-powered microscopes, conducting X-ray fluorescence testing to verify the metal composition, and comparing die markers with known 1967 die varieties. After 3 months of intensive study, PCGS issued a certificate stating that the coin was genuine and represented a unique, one-of-a-kind error that had no known comparisons in numismatic history. The coin was graded MS 64, meaning choice uncirculated condition with only minor imperfections, which is absolutely remarkable given the traumatic striking errors it sustained. News of the discovery spread instantly through the collecting community, and within days, the widow was receiving offers from wealthy collectors and museums who desperately wanted to acquire this historic piece. She ultimately decided to sell the coin through private treaty rather than public auction, and after negotiations with several interested parties, she accepted an offer of $65 million from a consortium of collectors who planned to share custody of the coin and eventually display it publicly. The sale made international headlines, with major news outlets running stories about the teacher's widow who had discovered a $65 million penny in her closet, and the story inspired millions of people to start examining their own old coin collections more carefully. The 1967 Lincoln penny stands as the ultimate proof that valuable treasures can hide in plain sight for decades, waiting for the right person to recognize their significance. But what makes this story even more incredible is that numismatic experts believe additional valuable 1967 pennies may still exist, though certainly nothing as dramatic as the $65 million specimen. Collectors have documented several other significant 1967 Lincoln cent errors, including strong double-die obverse varieties where the date and Liberty show clear doubling, and these can sell for $5,000 to $50,000 in high grades. Some 1967 pennies have been found struck on wrong planchets, including foreign coin blanks, creating denominations and metal compositions that are completely incorrect, and these can command prices from $2,000 to $25,000. Off-center strikes from 1967 showing 20% or more blank planchet areas are actively collected and can sell for several hundred to several $1,000s, depending on the degree of misalignment. There are also reported lamination errors similar to but less dramatic than the $65 million piece, where the copper plating on normal 1967 pennies has begun to separate or peel away, creating interesting visual effects that collectors appreciate. When examining 1967 Lincoln pennies, you should look carefully at the color first. Any 1967 penny that appears silver, white, or otherwise off-color deserves immediate attention because it might be a wrong planchet error. Check the weight using a precision scale, as wrong planchet errors will weigh differently than normal pennies. Examine all coins carefully under magnification for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or lamination issues that could indicate valuable varieties. And perhaps most importantly, never assume that damaged or strange-looking coins are worthless. Sometimes what appears to be damaged is actually a valuable mint error that could be worth significant money. The story of the 1967 Lincoln penny worth $65 million represents the ultimate coin collecting fantasy, the discovery that every collector dreams about. The moment when an ordinary person realizes they're holding an extraordinary treasure that will change their life forever. This coin proves that the hunt for valuable coins isn't just about the past. It's ongoing, active, and alive right now in the present. Somewhere out there, hidden in old collections, forgotten in drawers, or even still circulating in pocket change, there are coins waiting to be discovered, coins that could make their finders wealthy beyond imagination. The 6 coins we've explored today, from the 2009 D worth $7 million to this legendary 1967 specimen worth $65 million, represent just a tiny fraction of the valuable Lincoln pennies that exist, and each one tells a story of how careful observation, persistence, and knowledge can lead to life-changing discoveries. So the next time you receive pennies as change, the next time you're going through old jars of coins, the next time you encounter Lincoln cents from any year, take a moment to examine them carefully, because you might just be holding the next great numismatic discovery. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through some of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. Keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to find a fortune hiding in plain sight. This is Error Coins Hunter reminding you that every coin deserves a second look, because treasure is everywhere if you know where to look.